Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Noelle Fakori, and it's great to see you. Joining me in the studio, you are in for a treat. I have Daniel Chait, CEO of hiring software company Greenhouse. Daniel, welcome. So good to have you in the studio.
Thanks, Noelle. Great to be here.
So good to chat with you. I know we both have our New Yorker thing in common. We both love tacos. We feel very strongly about specific espresso machines.
Sure.
I feel like we are in for a treat, and our viewers are going to get the chance to learn a lot more about you and specifically Greenhouse.
Super.
So let's kick off by getting to know a little bit about you and your amazing company and what you're all about. Let's start there.
Yeah, so Greenhouse is, as you said, we're a hiring software company. Our mission is to help every company to become great at hiring. Hiring is one of the things that's most important to almost every leader today. But companies really struggle to get it right. And so we started Greenhouse with the idea that if we can help companies get better at hiring, we really unlock their potential and we really solve a lot of problems. So it's been a fun journey. We're in year 7. We started in 2012.
That's incredible.
We've been growing a lot.
Yeah.
I have a 7-year-old boy. I have a 7-year-old company. In a lot of ways,
Same.
They're both miracles, and they both have a lot of work to do. And so we're just taking it one step at a time.
Oh, I love that. And I love that you brought up potential and unlocking that potential for your customers, for talent. And it sounds like one of the biggest challenges that consistently keeps repeatedly coming up is really around diversity and inclusion when we think about the hiring and the talent space. So as a thought leader, I'm curious to hear how Greenhouse is thinking about that and just general thoughts on diversity and inclusion, why it's so difficult and how we can make it easier.
Yeah, for sure. I think the first thing to say is, companies struggle with diversity due to a whole set of reasons and a lot of stuff that has to do with broader societal issues and issues outside of the company.
Yeah.
And so it's important to recognize that you exist as an organization within a broader society, that people are going through their own challenges. I think in a lot of ways society is making progress, but a lot of challenges still remain. And so the questions are, as a leader, firstly, what is it that you're actually trying to do and why does that matter to you? And often you see leaders kind of struggle to answer that basic question. They think this is something I need to react to in the news or, out of some, PR or legal issue. And if you're not first centered on what actually are you trying to do and why does it matter, your progress is always going to be sort of limited. And so I always encourage people firstly to sort of face that question head on and say, look, what is actually important to you? Why is building a diverse and more inclusive organization matter? Why are you trying to do that? And then from there, we can talk about, okay, what are the steps? What are the obstacles you can foresee? And then what are some of the ways to tackle that?
I love that, especially the starting with the why piece. I think it's the most simple piece, but it's also one that takes some energy and thoughtfulness to really connect with. Have you found that companies are getting closer to having that mindset shift, or is it still challenging, and what could make it easier?
I think everyone is talking about it now because it's been in the news for the last couple of years for a bunch of reasons. So it's kind of finally risen to the level of consciousness in most businesses or many businesses, which is great. That's certainly a big first step. I think where folks get stuck is as a leader, what do I actually do? And what are the most common questions I hear are not, they're practical questions. How do I actually make progress? What should I actually do?
Got it.
That's where people kind of get stuck.
And as a leader yourself, when you think about your 7-year company, how have you really been making sure that you're leading with this mindset?
Yeah, that's a great question. The first thing I'll say is it's a work in progress. I tweeted this, just in the last 24 hours, we got an award for best place to work for women in New York.
Congratulations. That is absolutely worth celebrating. That's big.
And it's kind of what I said. It's look, that's worth celebrating. It's the result of a lot of hard work, a lot of focus, and building a great culture. So it's quite intentional, and I'm glad that we've done that.
Yeah.
But the work isn't done. So I don't want to overstate things either. I don't want to put ourselves or really anyone forward and say, hey, we've solved the problem. Let me now stand on the mountaintop and share my genius with everyone. I don't think that's how we think. I think it's a question of we happen to be in a position where we see a lot of companies, we see thousands of organizations, we spend time with academic researchers on topics of diversity and inclusion. And to your point, we grapple with these issues ourselves every single day.
Yeah.
And so to the degree that we have some wisdom to share, it's based in those conversations. And I'm a learner on this journey also. I'm every day trying to figure out what are we trying to tackle and how can we get better.
I asked, what have been some of your biggest learnings as you've been on this journey in the diversity and inclusion space?
Yeah, I would say there's probably 3 that stand out.
Okay.
I think the first is when you're talking about how do you make a company more diverse, how do you become more inclusive in how you hire,
Yeah.
you're talking about changing your employees' behavior, right? These are a lot of cases like implicit bias as a result of a lifetime of context and patterns that people are subject to.
Yeah.
And changing that behavior of individuals is just really, really hard. The second is that people often imagine diversity challenges at the workplace as a top of funnel challenge. They say there aren't enough female engineers,
Yeah.
or there aren't enough black executives for me to fill my team with. And I think that's often not the only or most important problem at a given company. So you need to look all throughout the funnel and really where are the challenges and opportunities that you see, as opposed to just
Yeah.
imagining it's a candidate problem.
Yeah.
And then the third is nobody has data. So everyone's kind of feeling their way in the dark here. And like any business problem, if it's not measured, it's not worked on.
Right.
And so companies often lack that type of intelligence about their workforce.
Yeah.
It gives them really nowhere to go.
Right. I'm glad you brought up data. So when it comes to data and people teams, what should they be evaluating? So like you said, it shouldn't just live at the top of the funnel,
Yeah.
but what could our leaders really start to think of evaluating?
Yeah, I mean, in today's day and age, the answer is everything. So you can measure so much today, and you ought to be looking at not only the demographic breakdown of your organization.
Right.
So I want to know across my organization by gender, by ethnicity, by veteran status, and so on. Like, what exactly population do I have? But at what levels?
Yeah.
How many leaders and managers, individual contributors? By geography, because your employee breakdown is going to be different based on kind of your talent pool,
Right.
and where they are.
Right.
And then for us, of course, the big thing is the hiring funnel itself. So not just the applicants you're getting, but along the way, where are different groups making progress or falling out? And again, that can be different by job. It could be that certain groups are making it to face-to-face interviews and then getting disproportionately failing out at that kind of stage. It might be that you're not seeing top of funnel, or that people aren't accepting your offers.
Yeah.
And those are very different kinds of challenges and different kinds of responses that you need to tackle them.
That makes a lot of sense. So if that's the data in terms of reaching and achieving success,
Yeah.
how can companies and people teams really start to think about what they should be measuring when it comes to diversity and inclusion?
Yeah, so if you measure, your pass-through rates at your funnel, if you have a clearly defined hiring process,
Yeah.
and all the demographic information or breakdown by your candidates for each of those stages, then you can unpack that and start to see these challenges. You say, oh, geez, for example, we might be doing a really good job of bringing women into our engineering organization, but they're not taking our offers. And you can see that by gender identification,
Yeah.
your offer acceptance rate.
Yeah.
Say, oh, geez, that's actually indicating that maybe we're not giving out fair offers, or maybe we're not presenting our culture in a way that those people feel this is a place for them. So then you can determine what to do about it. I think
Got it.
if you leap to what do I do about it, we're going to raise salaries, or we're going to change our careers page, or these other things, without knowing like what measurement you want to see go up,
Right.
you're often guessing wrong.
Yeah.
And so by putting that like more concrete data in place at a finer granularity, that gives you the ability to like target your approach.
That makes sense. It makes perfect sense. So as you think about teams, mindset, data, measurement,
Yep.
what has surprised you the most on this journey the last few years?
What hasn't? I mean, I think one of the most interesting things is just how new a lot of the academic research is, and
Yeah.
a lot of the science that's coming out around implicit bias and the sort of behavioral research about how people and groups make decisions. It's super interesting to see the way that our brain works.
Yeah.
Plays out in so many ways. And so I did a thought experiment with an audience one time where I said,
Okay.
close your eyes and picture a genius. And so the audience did that. And when they opened their eyes, I had a picture of Albert Einstein
Okay.
on the screen, which you probably just pictured as
Yep.
well. And so the point there is that people have associations in their mind, in this case between the word genius and an old white man.
Interesting.
And you can't help but
Yeah.
have that affect your decision making. So then the question is, what can you do about it? And there's all these studies that show the way you present information to people, the way you ask questions to your team, the way you they're called decision architecture,
Okay.
has huge impact on the kinds of decisions that they actually make.
Yeah.
And so by changing the structure and operationalizing a different way of like decision making around people, you can really change the outcomes that your team gets.
I love that.
It's really neat stuff.
It is fascinating. I love a good social experiment
It's really neat.
personally.
Yeah.
So I love that you've been building that in because it gives you that own self aha moment that unless you have it in a very simple, tactical way, it can feel so big and challenging to figure out where do I begin with this mindset shift that you're sharing.
That's right. And most people think of themselves as good person.
Yeah.
Right. So I think a lot of like the interventions that companies have done in the past, we're going to do diversity training, which is a good thing to do in most cases. But if you just leave it at that, a lot of people sit in diversity training and they say like, well, I'm a good person. This really isn't for me.
It's one-dimensional.
And then, of course, they go about their lives and they forget most of what they heard.
Yeah.
It doesn't have quite the impact. Whereas if you can put tools in front of your team that get them acting differently in the moment.
Yes.
Hey, I'm sitting with a candidate right now and evaluating them. If you can choose to present different ways of evaluating them to your team in the moment, or if you can collect better data and use that across time and across your offices to like really find out what's happening, it's really an opportunity for change. So look, it's great that companies are talking about this. It's like I said, it's a big new shift. There's lots of new science out there that's happening. It's going to require a lot of learning and focus by lots of us in the industry to make the progress that we want to see.
Well, thank you so much for leading this journey with us. It's been so great spending some time with you, Daniel, and congratulations on your success, your company, and the recent award. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Noel.
So good to have you. And for those of you viewing, stay connected to us here at Talent Connect 2019. We've got a lot more goodness coming your way. Thanks.